Hi, I'm Aniki Nippon. Today I wanted to present to you Debunking Hockney. And of course, I'm talking about the book Secret Knowledge by David Hockney, where he puts forward the idea that some of the Renaissance masters might have used some kind of optical devices, i.e. lenses or mirrors, or a combination of both in order to produce the masterpieces that they did. And I'm just taking basic art history and basic art technique into consideration when I make these arguments, so hopefully even a layman can understand my arguments and be able to understand why Hockney seems to be wrong in his analysis of whether or not masters actually use optical devices or not. So here we go. Okay. So the first fallacy is this whole eyeballing business that David Hockney talks about in the beginning. And he says, and I quote, "By this I mean the way an artist sits down in front of a sitter and draws or paints a portrait by using his hand and eye alone, and nothing else, looking at a figure and then trying to recreate the likeness on paper or canvas." And that's his definition of eyeballing. Now here we see an Aberdour woodblock print from 1525, and of course, with this kind of art technique, you would need two people to understand the, plot the points for, like, example, a lute, as given in this one, in this image right here. But and of course, the technical use of this device would not fall under the category of quote-unquote eyeballing under David Hockney's definition. And this is one of the two. This device right here works on the same concept as a grid, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. But the grid's been used for long time. So, but again, these devices don't fall under the eyeballing definition that Hockney gives. Now here's an example of a commonly used art technique at the time, even by Leonardo da Vinci. It's called the grid. Basically, by looking at one square, you'll be able to equally match up. If you can get a very basic shape in order to fit in that square, and you can line it up with the artist, so long as you don't move too much, you'll be able to really get an accurate representation by just drawing an art form onto your canvas or piece of paper or whatever it may be. This technique, this has been used for a long time, and it's a technical aid that doesn't fall under the definition of, again, David Hockney's eyeballing technique. So I just want to make that clear before I go ahead and say what I say next. Now on the same page we see another comparison between those woodblock prints, or actually the first woodblock print, and Caravaggio's The Loop Painter, and that's in St. Petersburg. Now, and it says here, and I quote, he compares the how the masterful skill that Caravaggio was able to replicate this same kind of lute in his painting without any preliminary drawings, and he asked the reader, was it just divine skill or could he have used optics? And what's to say that Caravaggio didn't use the same grid? I mean, using the same grid, you can actually replicate this kind of masterpiece. It's not that hard to conceive, and it was a known method that artists used. The sin here is to leave the reader believing that it was quote-unquote divine skill, hinting that Caravaggio may have, I don't know, eyeballed the painting, and to say that it's either that or he used optics doesn't really lead an educated reader or somebody who understands art techniques and the kinds that they used at this time to be really convinced that the methods used must have been an optical device or eyeballing in order to make a painting. I think it was more of a third option, that they used some kind of technical aid to aid them or assist them into actually doing these kinds of masterpieces. So that's my first piece of evidence, or first fallacy.